Okay, so this video for section 1.3 is going to be in two parts. One part is going to be about programming the calculator, and then the second part is going to be some board work. And the camera has some difficulties going back and forth between the close-up for the calculator and then the far away for the board. So the first thing you want to do is turn on your calculator, which is down here in the lower left. Okay. And then if we want to program the calculator, it's that PRGM button right in the middle of the keyboard there. When you hit that, it'll take you to the programs. I've got a program in here already called enroute. You may or may not have any programs in there. And in some cases, if you're renting a calculator from the college, you may already have a quadratic program in your calculator, and that's great. So the only thing you would have to do then is just to test it out and make sure that it's working properly. But if we want to enter a new program, we have to arrow. If you look across the top here where it says execute, edit, and new, we need to arrow over to where it says new. And so if we hit the right arrow key, we arrow over to create new, and then hit enter. And then that'll bring us to this screen right here where it's asking for a name for the program. You can see the cursor has a little A inside of it, which means that the alpha lock is on. And so anytime you hit one of these buttons, it'll result in the letter being typed. You can see the letters here are in green. There's A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. So I'm going to call this quad. There's Q, U, A, and D. Okay, you can call your program whatever you'd like, but once you name it, hit enter, and then it'll take you to this screen where it's waiting for some input as to what the program is actually going to do. The first thing we want to do is we want to tell the calculator what are the values of A, B, and C for the quadratic formula. To do that, we go back to the PRGM key right here, hit that, and you'll see this menu right here. The menu that we want is actually the input-output menu, that I/O. So again, we need to arrow over, use the right arrow key, and there's the input-output menu. We want number 2, where it says prompt. So choose number 2, and now we're back on the program screen, and it says prompt. And then we want to type in A, comma B, comma C. Now the alpha lock is not on in this case, so you'll need to hit the alpha key, alpha A, see there it is right there, and then the comma's right over the 7, and then we'll do alpha B and the comma, and then alpha C, and then that's it. And then we want to go down to the next line by hitting enter. Okay, so now we've told the calculator what the values of A, B, and C are, and now we need to calculate the quadratic formula. So we'll need a parentheses first, open up the parentheses, and then we need negative b. And you're going to need to use the negative sign that's down here next to the decimal point. Hit the negative sign. Don't use the subtraction key, use the negative sign. The calculator gets very confused if you try to use the subtraction button here. So we want negative b, so alpha b, and then plus, and then square root. So that's second right here where it says x squared. You see that little blue square root? And so there's the square root. And so then we want to do alpha b squared. And now we do want the subtraction key because it's minus 4 and then alpha a, alpha c. So there's our negative b plus square root b squared minus 4ac. And then we got to close the parentheses. And that's the parentheses for the square root, which is right there. So that parentheses gets opened there and closed there. Now this initial parentheses also has to be closed, otherwise it'll give you wrong answers. So we're going to close that as well. Okay, so that's the numerator of the fraction, and then we hit the divided by key. And then in the denominator of the fraction we need another parentheses, and then 2 alpha a, and then close those parentheses. So there it is. Negative b plus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And what we're going to do is we're going to store that value as a variable. So the store key is down here, right above the on key where it says STO. We're going to hit that, and you'll see a little arrow. And then I'm going to store that as a variable called R. So I'm going to hit alpha R. You can use any variable that you'd like except for A, B, and C because those are already being used. So there's the first root for our quadratic equation. And then the second root will be the same, except instead of negative b plus, we're going to do negative b minus. So we hit enter to get down to the next line here, and then we're going to do parentheses, negative alpha b, and then we want the subtraction key, subtract, and then again, square root b squared minus 4 alpha A alpha C. So there's all of that. And then we're going to have close parentheses, and then again divided by open parentheses 2 alpha A, and then close parentheses. And then we're going to store that as another variable. I'll store that STO, store that as alpha S. Okay, so we've got prompt A, B, and C, and then we've got one line for negative B plus, and then a different line for negative B minus. One root gets stored as R, the other root gets stored as S, and then we hit enter. And the last thing we want to do is to have the calculator show us the answers. So to do this, we're going to hit the PRGM key again, go to the input-output menu, arrow over to I/O, there we go, and choice number 3 is display. So we hit number 3, and we go back to our program screen, and it says display, and we want to display alpha R, and then comma, alpha S. Or if you've stored these as different variables, whatever variables you've stored this as, that's what you want to display. And that's the whole program. So now to quit and get back to the regular calculation screen, you can see there's quit right there. So we hit second mode, brings us out to the regular screen. If you want to run the program, hit the PRGM key. And this time the quad program shows up, so that's choice number 2. If you don't have any other programs, it'll probably be choice number 1. And once you do that, you'll see this on the regular screen. To run the program, you'll have to hit enter. And there it is. Now it's asking you for the value of A. So let's say we put in 1, hit enter. Now it's asking for the value of B. I'll put in 7 and hit enter. And then it's asking for the value of C. I'll put in 10. And this time when I hit enter, it's going to display the roots for that quadratic equation, which would be 1x squared plus 7x plus 10 has roots of negative 2 and negative 5. There are 2 test problems in the textbook, and I encourage you to try out those test problems and make sure that you get the answers correct for those test problems, because that's a way to tell whether or not your program has been entered properly. If you have any problems with this, please let me know. And thanks a lot.